back on the Exit 52 podcast. It is Thursday, August 8th, 8/8, Jeff Fisher Day. My name is Jake Louque, 9:58 p.m. here on the lovely East Coast, joined by my guy Spenny. The other guys are predisposed. Eric on the way to a bachelor party out in Deep Creek here. And I know he would appreciate this comment. I think that before we come into one of these series recaps ahead of recapping a series that was, kind of as, overall pretty unsatisfactory as this one, I think we need kind of a little bit more of a sad sort of lobby music there, because I had the lobby music and we got that for all our fine people that are awaiting ahead of, when we fire it up. I really need something that's a little bit more melancholy and it's just kind of in the mood, a little Jeb Bush kind of low T situation, because that's certainly more of what I'm feeling after, I would say, the majority of the Orioles baseball, at least 2 out of 3 games that we just watched. Kind of a shit sandwich of a series there, where they have a fun one in the middle there, but a really frustrating one to cap things off, or to start things off, I should say, and then to cap things off, just overall a pretty lifeless game of baseball tonight that saw some life there in the 9th inning. I know you weren't too pleased with the way that that rally sort of worked its way out with some of the money that you had on our guy, Little Jackie. Spenny, how we doing tonight, pal?
Doing well. The Orioles fall 6-7. I was glad to see them continue to be able to surge in late innings and do it 2 nights in a row and have some life to them. So, wasn't the series you want to see, continuing to have defensive struggles, but I like the bats showing life, some chutzpah. Colton Cowser late. Holliday almost squeaked one that would have won me some money, sure, but almost squeaked one out. Putting the ball in play, hitting it hard. Adley Rutschman with a clutch hit. Ryan O'Hearn with a clutch hit. Cedric Mullins drives a double there late. So couldn't quite get it done. In this one, we, again, continue to see some little league errors and little Jackie Holliday error. Ryan O'Hearn, whatever the hell's going on in the outfield there. The Orioles continue to let Vlad Guerrero crush them. People getting into it on Twitter. You don't walk guys. You walk. Come on, man. I just watched Aaron Judge get intentionally walked with no outs and a runner on first like 4 days ago. At some point, you have to admit defeat. What did Ben McDonald say in game 1 of this series on the broadcast? He said, after what Vlad Guerrero did last week, the Orioles aren't going to let him do it again this week. What did they do? Let him absolutely damage them. He's as hot as they come right now. He has damaged Dean Kramer throughout their careers. He has damaged the Orioles. There's just certain guys. Bo Bichette, if he'd be absolutely lacing into him.
On Vlad Guerrero, my statistician, Mike Louque, told me that he was listening to Talking Baseball, and they said something about Vlad Guerrero cutting his hair recently, and he has been on an absolute heater ever since then. So maybe they should have
like 450 since he cut his hair or something.
Yeah, I think
streak in baseball. I think he's at like 20 games now. So crushed the Orioles two series in a row within a 9-day span. He's absolutely left them in the dust. He nearly hit for the cycle tonight. Probably would have if he got another chance to have another at bat, as a double, a triple, and a dinger. So touch them all, Vlad Guerrero. Tough scene. Orioles just continue to tread water. I thought that the middle game, like you said, was awesome. Watching them come back and win a game where they trailed entering the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning for the first time since May. Jackson Holliday, a huge star throughout the series, the 3-game home run streak, youngest player in the AL to do it, and has been everything that Orioles fans hoped for before he was called up, and especially after he was called up the first time. So that was really cool, but the defensive errors really continue to stick out. The Orioles team ERA right now, I think since the All-Star break, is right around a 5. They have one of the worst ERAs in baseball. They're just not getting it done. The defensive errors they make for last night for Rogers, Kobe Mayo kicking the ball around for him, making things a little tougher on him, when he's trying to find his footing. So a lot of youth on this team, a lot of dirt getting and sand in their eyes right now. They're playing indoors in Toronto. They're pelting balls into the little jump. My buddy Clay keeps saying, they're playing on a jump. They're playing on a trampoline there. And guys like Jackson and Kobe didn't play in arenas where they have AstroTurf and the ball's freaking.
Some of the fucking, just moon bounces that Dalton Varsho was making out there in center too, it might lend some credence to that. This is the Dalton Varsho series too, as much as the Vlad Guerrero series.
Yeah, he's got a little Ben Zobrist to him, a little antichrist. He's incredibly athletic and just makes weird, wild, wet plays. And I don't know, the comment here, Jack Crick, the Orioles suck ass right now. they're playing average. They're average. They're very average. They're playing 500 baseball for a long period of time.
I think they are 5-5, 10 right now. So
they've been that. That's what they've been. They've been very average. Corbin, Grayson, they've been winning a good bit of those guys' starts. They've been struggling on the other fringes of their other pitchers. The bullpen has been average. Gunnar and Adley, Gunnar's been hitting a little better in terms of just hitting singles and stuff, but they're not playing like stars right now. They're playing all right. There's a couple bright spots. Tony has been unbelievably hot, and tonight thought he might get a chance. The first hack he took tonight in the top of the 9th inning with 2 outs and a runner on was trying to send a ball back into the United States. He was trying to destroy that baseball and was lifting one to center, but just not a lot of flow going on, a lot of moving parts. I mean, Eloy Jimenez, Austin Slater, Kobe Mayo, Jackson Holliday, 4 guys that weren't playing baseball on this team in July or June or May. So it's mega tough trying to integrate all those guys. And I think we're going to see those growing pains continue for a little while, but luckily the Yankees are just doing the same thing. So it's going to be kind of a limp here to the finish.
All these teams really are. I mean, the Phillies are still, I think, best record MLB wise, but they don't even really look like world beaters. That's really the thing about baseball, with it being so insular and so kind of local. Like you really pay attention to your team, and unless you're a sicko, which I think people that are baseball sickos, it's kind of dwindling over the years, or it has in the last couple decades. It's not as national of a sport as it used to be. It definitely can feel like your team is kind of out on an island, just looking like average at best, and that certainly has been the case with the Orioles. But to your point, it's happening with a lot of these teams. I think just kicking it off of this series, I think the most disappointed I am has to be in that first game where we have a Grayson Rodriguez who's, pretty much set to go. And then, as the game is kicking off, we were recording the jumbo set when it happened. I get the push notification that Albert Suarez is starting all of a sudden. I didn't know where that came from. I hop into the text thread, and RDT's kind of blowing it up about, him being on the field there. Pretty much he wasn't even really throwing yet. He was kind of warming himself up to start throwing and do his actual warm up. Says something to the effect of, "Yeah, I don't feel right," and they scratch him from that start. He goes to what was a retroactive 15-day injured list stint the other day, so it's probably down to around 10 days or thereabouts right now. So he's going to be gone for a little while. We'll see what they do to ramp him back up. But what was so disappointing about that was Albert Suarez goes out there, really admirable performance in that game. I'll see if I can pull up his exact line here, but that was just another one where it's like you get a solid pitching performance. Yeah, Albert Suarez, 5 innings pitched, which is perfectly fine on short notice like that. 2 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. I mean, that's probably as good of a start as he's had in a while. Offense just goes quiet. They scored 2 runs total. And that was just really disappointing to me, and kind of emblematic of what I've been saying of, like, it feels like when they get 2 pistons firing, then the third won't fire. They get 1 piston firing, the other 2 won't fire. It just feels like they get one thing going, and then for whatever reason, the other thing just kind of leaves them. It kind of feels like, to make another NFL analogy, where like for whatever reason, the passing game is in sync one week, but you can't run it, and that hurts you. And then maybe it's the other way around the next week. And then maybe the defense is kind of having similar sort of, synchronicity issues. Like, it just feels like they're totally out of sync right now. And that was very emblematic of that.
Yeah. Again, I think that's having a lot of guys coming up playing. Ryan O'Hearn's playing in the outfield a ton this series. Eloy Jimenez, Jackson Holliday, Austin Slater, Kobe Mayo, all these different guys. Adley has not hit well as a catcher. He's hit a lot better when he's DH throughout this season. They don't have a second catcher right now. Bullpen having issues. Jacob Webb sent down. Got some comments in here about Soto, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Rogers, Eflin. I mean, almost half their team is new. So I think it makes sense. A lot of inexperience and guys that are, it's tough. They just played back-to-back road series right after the deadline. So these guys aren't settled. These guys haven't gotten to go to their apartment and put their shit down and like sleep and order some takeout and take a breath yet. So I think that is tough too, going up into Canada and all that junk. So baseball is a maddening sport. Watching those aspects, I think you put it eloquently, Jake. The Pistons not all firing together. It's like an 18-wheeler's got blown out tire, and they just keep replacing the tire. Another tire blows out.
You can still drive that way, but like, it's not going to look pretty, right?
Exactly. I think that's a good way to put it. So yeah, they're probably going to be this team for a couple more series. I would think they still, they get the national, they have to go to Tampa now. So they have 3 straight road series right after the deadline, when I still haven't seen I still am going to say, until someone checks me, that the Orioles made the most trades on deadline day in MLB history. I'm going to say that until someone proves me wrong. So when you do that and then go play 3 straight road series, it's going to be tough. They finally get to come back home against the Nationals and the Red Sox before going to go play the Mets, and they have 4 against the Astros. So my arbitrary, stupid date that I'm going to put on is by the time you get kind of to they have a 4-game series against the Red Sox. They need to be settled in by game 3 of that Red Sox series a lot more. That is the
Red Sox
17th.
also 6 games back too. I mean, like, stranger things have happened than a team like that is kind of surging up and making a race out of it, or entering into the race with the Orioles and the Yankees, who are, walking backwards towards the finish line right now.
Exactly. Dog days of summer, all these things. So, and no, we got comments in here. They're playing baseball, not going to war. Okay. Like, go get a new job and then go on the road for the first 2 weeks of it.
It's not to make excuses. It's just to explain a little bit that there is a human element. And like,
I think that's why they're playing stupid. They're playing stupid baseball. They're making dumb mistakes. They have 2 very inexperienced infielders, Kobe Mayo and Jackson Holliday. Jackson Holliday didn't open his glove the other day and dropped the ball. Kobe Mayo throwing the ball away, not sure when he should just eat one. We can get into the whole wormhole. Hyde's decision-making was very poor. It was great against the I must drop the I word, great against the Guardians.
Thank you.
They threw Soto out there. I don't know. It just feels like they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't.
I will say I didn't love what he did in that moment and getting into that. I mean, they had the bases loaded. Jackson Holliday set to hit. He replaces him with Austin Slater, who actually does have a very quality at bat, draws a walk and sends a run in. And then what was it? It was Cowser. He pulled for... How am I already forgetting this? I think Cowser was set to, or maybe I think he might have.
I think it was, what was it? Slater for Holiday. Slater takes a walk, and then maybe Aloy for Aloy or someone for Cowser.
I think Cowser.
They went righty. They wanted to go righty against the lefty.
Yeah, I think Cowser was kind of the people wanted Cowser in that spot, and they wound up giving it to. I'm apologies guys for blanking on this, because obviously
it was Holiday got pinch hit for Slater, then Urias hit, and then they pinch hit Cowser.
Yeah, he pulled Cowser from Mayo. Yeah, Urias strikes out on
Mayo.
Yeah, Jack Corcoran says Urias strikes out on 3 pitches, then he pulls Cowser from Mayo there. So yeah, I mean, it just overall like that. I really did not love that in the moment. I do think that, speaking of the human element, I think there is a bit of a human element there that you got to like sometimes differentiate. And I said on X that it reminded me a little bit of like this 4th down debate that we've been seeing with the Ravens, where it's like, the spreadsheet and the analytics and all that. And I, obviously you and I, we've talked about the word analytics and how it's just kind of a catch-all buzzword that doesn't always apply. But eventually, like, you got to like look away from that at times. I was for it, but then Jacob Calvin-Meyer did calm me down a little bit. And he actually went to the hard data and said, like, look, like Hyde's like, he's been doing this consistently and it's largely worked for them. So you see in this small sample size where it doesn't. Problem is, it was a very high leverage one, so of course that's going to draw sort of the ire of all these fans in a game that everyone is watching, and it's getting more and more critical here as we get closer to the end of the season. And with the way that the playoffs played out last year, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth when you get to start to get some of these more high leverage games. So I understood the frustration, but I also understand pulling it back to a more 1,000-foot view and saying like, hey, like maybe let's kind of look at this a little bit more rationally. So that was a weird one overall. And I think just kind of emblematic of where this team is at right now, where, like I said, it's just out of sync and you got to grasp what you can. And overall, I think where I'm just at is like, I need to see a little bit more from guys like Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman right now. I've been saying it for a little while. Like Adley, like, you can say what you will about intangibles not meaning much and all that, but he is the face of this rebuild. He is the heartbeat of this rebuild. As soon as he came up, everything changed for this franchise. The sweepless streak, it all started with him. His body language has looked like kind of shit to me for like the last couple months. And I get it if he's tired, I get this and that, but like he hasn't looked like himself. Gunnar,
to the point of the comment we had, they are playing baseball. They are not at war. I think that applies to that very much so. Have a little fun, Adley. What's wrong? What is wrong, Adley?
Yeah, exactly. And he's typically a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. He's doing the I think you should leave stuff. And like we love that about him. And like if he's, going through shit or whatever, like I'm sympathetic and we've met the guy. He's a great kid. And I don't know, I'm rooting for him to turn around. But yeah, it isn't war. Like let's turn the body language up a little bit. Like I think about that stuff going back to, like I said, right when he started taking over daily catching duties. Remember how blown away we were by the fact that he would hug guys after games, after wins. He would go up to the closer and give him a hug. Like that, it's a small thing, but everyone was like, wow, that's really emblematic of like something deeper within this kid that you don't see with younger prospects. You don't see with a lot of baseball players. Like it's a small body language thing that I think probably added a lot of kind of chutzpah to this team. And it added a little bit of an emotional kind of uplift to a franchise that needed it at the time. And we're just not seeing it from the guy right now. He looks a little bit lost at sea. And same thing for Gunnar, who I think numbers-wise, he's checking out all right, but he's not hitting homers like he was early in the season. Anthony Santander starting to really outpace him in that regard. I want to see Gunnar. We've
seen some fire out of Gunnar a little bit. We saw him flip out against the Guardians after he hit that double and legged out that double. And he's been nails after that really tough stretch. I think Gunnar started to come around a little bit. He's been really nails defensively since he had that insanely horrible week of defensive baseball.
Yeah, no, he's playing, I think, close to up to par for him. He's not all the way there, but he's certainly closer to what his typical form is than Adley. I need him to be MVP Gunnar Henderson right now. This team needs him to be that, and that's not what he is. He has fallen out of that race. I'm not sure where the odds are right now, but I've seen comments from Jack about Bobby Witt, some of these other guys. Like, he's not in that conversation right now. Just straight up. Like, it's Aaron Judge, it's Bobby Witt. I don't think he's really in that conversation.
A lot of guys, they started pitching him outside a lot at the plate. I feel like that was really, if you give him anything inside, he can pull the ball so violently with such a short swing. So, I think all of that comes into play. But right now, this is, and we talk about Hyde, and I was getting into it on Twitter a little bit. We talk about what is Hyde's job. Oh, the bullpen, the pinch hitting. Again, I think those decisions very much come from upstairs, and philosophically, I don't mean that Elias calls down every day and says, here's what you're going to do, but that's why Hyde has the job, because he does what Elias wants and what Sig wants and what they see and the splits and that kind of stuff. But his job is to manage the clubhouse, very much so. That is like the biggest part of being a manager in today's baseball because of analytics. And I would like to see Brandon Hyde step it up in that regard. I think that it ultimately is going to fall on him and the leaders of that clubhouse, some of the older guys, Tony, Cedric. Corbin's newer, but he is their best player. Corbin Burns is the best Oriole. I will say
I liked him arguing the balls and strikes the other night. I don't know if you saw that clip.
Exactly. I want to see these veteran guys. I'll throw Ryan O'Hearn in there. They need to get this clubhouse jazzing and rocking and rolling, shucking and jiving. Which is why we saw Eloy and Jackson last night hitting the dong bong was so fun, because they were the ones that it's usually Cowser and Gunnar and Adley and Tony and these guys, but it was the other guys. So that was cool, but I want to see those guys return to having some fun. I think the fans are frustrated, and I guarantee that the players are a lot more frustrated. The Orioles should be playing better baseball. And again, with so many new faces, I mean, Adley might be, I'll give him a little grace and say, hey, he's got a lot of new pitchers he's got to put extra time in with before the game, trying to figure out, what do they like? How are they going to respond in different situations? Things like that. So that's a lot of work too. But yeah, I'm going to keep going back to that comment. It's not war. It's baseball. You're getting paid a lot of money to do it. You can have a lot of fun. We've seen them have a lot of fun. So smile.
The moment you stop treating it like a war, then your war will go up.
Exactly. So make baseball fun again in Baltimore. Hopefully they do it when they get home. They get the Rays, who they've exercised their demons against very much so. Familiar there. So a lot of divisional baseball against some of the two cell dwellers in the division this year, and should be able to go refire and take 2 out of 3 or sweep the Rays there. We're going to keep saying it. But again, I just don't think this team is going to play high quality baseball like we were used to in May and June for another couple series, another couple weeks. They have a lot of fresh faces, a lot of guys getting called up, called down, dropped, DFA'd, this, that, and the other. So it's tough. The rotation is in shambles. I mean, Eflin, I think, is a great acquisition and has pitched well. Corbin did get dinged up the other day, but he's obviously great. And then other than that, you're hoping somebody can go 5, let up 4. That's what you hope for. You hope Suarez can go 5, let up 4. You hope Rogers can go 5, let up 4 or less. So if that's what you're hoping for, you're not in a great spot a lot. And usually, if you let up 5 runs, you lose. I think about 80. I think I saw it was 84% of games this year when the opposing team scores 5 runs. So it's not great in terms of health and a lot of moving parts. And I just want to see this team fight through it. I think this could be better for them in the end. Last year, they were the golden goose. They had no trouble. They cruised through. They freaking lit everybody up. They won all the series. They hit all the home runs. They had all the fun. Now they need to pick themselves up by their big boy boots and their big boy pants and figure it out. Figure it the fuck out. This is being a professional. Gunnar Henderson. This is being a professional. Adley Rutschman, Colton Cowser. Some of the younger guys. have to make the adjustments, have to put in the extra work, have to figure out how to keep your spirits up and manage your body and do all of those things. So, we saw them peak in the regular season last year. Hopefully they can be better for what this is. And the kind of good news we had heard through, the streets or whatever you want to call it, is that hopefully Grayson, sounds like it was just inflammation a little bit more so. Take that, as far as you can throw it. But what we had heard is it's inflammation, and the Orioles, quote unquote, dodged a bullet. So hopefully he's back. You can get some of these other guys acclimated, sort out this bullpen, maybe, waive one more guy, pick one more guy up. Maybe Burt Smith ends up playing a little bit more of a high leverage role for you, something like that. But a lot of tinkering still. I think I said, back when we were doing these, Jake, in like May, I was like, the outfield, I want it sorted by like this time, what it would be today. It's not sorted. They have Slater now into the mix. They are playing O'Hearn. Slater. So a lot of more tinkering left, and that's going to lead to bad baseball. And we're watching bad baseball. I know why it's happening. It just sucks to watch. And I'm hopeful that they'll be better for it in a couple of weeks and ultimately in October.
Yeah, super, super, super long season MLB is. I mean, it's such a freaking grind, and that's easy to forget until you're right in the just dead heat of it, right near the Mekong Delta there. You're hacking your way through the underbrush trying to get to the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what it feels like they're at right now. And a lot of injuries, and like you said, a lot of guys coming in to replace said injured players. And like you said, it's like building a plane while you're trying to get it into the air still. And they've been in the air already, so they're trying to make repairs to it as they're still coasting along here. But yeah, you make the good point there, man, that it's still 2 months to go until October. A lot of time to figure all that out, but it would be
I don't think it is a lot of time. It's not a lot of time, but there's a little bit. There's enough. They have enough time.
Yeah, there's enough time to figure out how to land a plane in between now and then. And whether land the plane means win the World Series, I'm not super confident in that right now. But to the point that we've made overall, a lot of these teams are having the same question and asking it to themselves. So it's tough. And yeah, I mean, you've got the Yeti in here talking about losing Westberg. I mean, God damn, like you like
I don't even think about Westberg on a day-to-day basis already.
Neither do I, and that's crazy because he was already so good from the plate. And then you look at Mayo, who's puttering and billowing out there, at the hot corner. And it reminds you just how quality of a player that dude is. I mean, of all the losses they could have taken in the spot that they did, a lot of people drew comparisons to the Nick Markakis injury back when that happened. And he really is like in a lot of ways living up to the billing of kind of that next Markakis-esque figure for this franchise. He is sorely missed right now. And, that's just another kind of axle in the chassis or whatever you want to say, another cog in the wheel that is just really thrown a wrench into things. It's just tough to watch Kobe Mayo have to try and, field very important kind of grounders out his way. And a couple, I think were a little bit harder hit. Maybe there was one that was harder to field, and you never can fully judge these things from the vantage point that we have. But yeah, you've been saying it. I mean, defensively probably just wasn't ready for prime time in that spot. And I think you, me, Eric, all the guys here, I think we had our well-founded concerns about his long-term future at third base. Not off to a hot start so far. We'll see how he figures it out at the plate. Took a couple of nice, patient first at-bats there. He's chased a little bit more since then. We'll see how long Kobe Mayo is going to be on this squad, seeing with Westberg's health, and then they signed J.D. Davis to a minor league deal. So I don't know. It seems like they might already be making preparations there.
They're going to, I think about Holliday. I think about Cowser. I would imagine Mayo is up for another week. I bet he starts to get a couple hits. Then they send him down. Everybody gets mad. Then they bring up J.D. Davis. J.D. Davis hits 241, is okay at third. Mayo goes down and rakes stinks for a week in Norfolk. Then Norfolk gets some adjustments in, and then they call him back up in a little bit here. So need to adjust. It's a Rubik's Cube, and it feels like the stickers are pulled off with like a couple colors.
We got a couple comments here too. I mean, Tony Tater sliding in a second. Then we had Colton on that kind of last single.
Tony DH tonight.
Yeah, and Colton kind of legging out that last single there. He came up hobbled. He kind of landed on that left ankle a little bit weird. He was hobbling around. He stayed in the game, but I don't know, man. Like these bumps and bruises add up. I mean, even if you're not injured, you could be hurt, and that could be yet another thing that they could be dealing with. Cowser there with left and center field. Like, we'll see if that affects his range. I don't know, but overall, just more and more injuries and hurt players kind of piling up. It's not super not super encouraging. I'll say that. Overall, I mean, looking back on the series, I think pitching and starting pitching in particular remains a puzzle that they're going to have to try and fix here. I think Zach Eflin has been very sharp. He's going to get the ball in game 1 against the Rays, which will be exciting to see. But with the absence of Grayson, it's even more alarming right now because you've got Trevor Rogers, who has had 2 starts. I think he looked solid the other night overall, but just still pretty wild and, gave up too many runs. He had a couple bounce unlucky for him, but he doesn't inspire confidence. And Dean Kramer with the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Kramer act has been another thing that's just been kind of maddening to watch. And we saw it again tonight. He was very poor tonight. So,
yeah. The Rays series coming up, like you said, Eflin getting the ball in game 1. Then what are we swinging around to? Hasn't been announced yet, I don't think. But
I think it has. Let me pull it up.
Whatever it's swinging around to. But I'm expecting more sloppy defensive baseball, and I expect the Orioles to be in these tight games, these frustrating, stress-inducing games until they play better defensive baseball. And again, I don't
Zach
think
Eflin game 1, Corbin Burns game 2, Albert Suarez game 3.
Should be good enough to win a series in terms of starting pitching for you. Your 2 best pitchers that you have right now, Eflin and Burns. So you hope. Baseball is a fickle beast. I thought Hunter Green would destroy the Marlins tonight. That didn't happen. He let up a home run and a couple singles, and it was a tie game for a long time. But anyway, I don't need to be anecdotal about baseball. Everyone knows how crazy it is, and the boys need to come back to Baltimore. I think that is what they need after this Rays series. I think they need that nice 6-game homestand, maybe with a day off in there. I have to double check. I have it pulled up over here, but hopefully a day off wedged in there somewhere. Yes, they have the 12th off before. So they finish the Rays, have a travel day on the 12th. Then they play the Nationals. So they'll have off. I think that's maybe next Monday. So I think that'll be huge for them. Hopefully they can beat up on the Nationals a little bit and get ready for the Red Sox again. I'm looking at about halfway through that Red Sox series where this defensive little league bullshit has to stop. Has to stop. They are making silly errors every game. I don't remember it under Brandon Hyde's Orioles. I don't remember it in any stretch of baseball over the last 3 years here. So any team has a chance to win any game without playing that well if you're going to give them free bases and get in your head and do all that shit. So I think that is really holding them back. We talk about the injuries, the players, all these things. Are the errors a product of it? Is the poor defensive baseball a product of it? Yes. Have to figure it out. I don't know what the magic answer is. That's why they pay coaches and players, and it's little league shit. It's insane. It's not even just that they're making errors. They're hardly making stellar defensive plays on the infield. They're hardly saving runs. That's not happening. So not only are they being average, they're also letting up runs. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I feel like we've had kind of one of those patented kind of Gunner web gems in like the last 3 weeks. And it felt like a weekly occurrence at least before that. Like he's kind of been,
And I think he started to feel himself. I will say Gunner is my favorite Oriole as a fan. I think he started to feel himself a little bit much, started to get a little bit more AAU kind of. I'm gonna do ISO ball and I'm gonna
bananas. Yeah,
I'm gonna fling this. Like I'm gonna make a quick throw. I'm gonna
Matthew Stafford. Yeah,
and I think we've seen him this series and the Guardian series stop doing that at all. I don't think he's playing around one bit whatsoever. He's taking extra steps. He's using the more consistent arm slot to my naked untrained eye. Looks like to me at least. So the Yeti here. You can see he's slowing down, focusing. And I think that's part of dealing with his second full season, that aspect of it and all the fame and stardom. I think it maybe did get to his head defensively a little. Maybe he did take his eye off the ball a touch. So he needed that. He's been okay. I have faith he's going to rein it in and continue to be a Gold Glove caliber shortstop for years to come. So that I am confident in. But yeah.
Overall,
anything else? Any other thoughts here? We can close up. I know it's a little bit late.
I'd be curious to see their kind of splits as far as record when they score first. I want to see them start scoring first.
They never have a lead.
That's what it's been feeling like. Like you got to find a way to, and that starts again with the top of the order, Gunnar Henderson and Anthony. I'm not going to go after Anthony Santander. He's obviously, been very good. And Colton Cowser too. He's been good as well there in that leadoff spot. But I mean, top of the order, like we got to start First Blood, Call of Duty back in the day, First Blood, 10 extra points, right? XP or whatever. You go out there and try and draw up First Blood in these games. Make that a priority. Make that, Brandon Hyde, write that on the fucking whiteboard and drill it into their head that you got to start scoring first in these games, get off to a lead, and make these other teams chase. And, if you have a defensive error or two, that's certainly not going to hurt you as much if you're up by 2 runs than if you're down by 2, because it just feels more demoralizing when you're obviously down and then you have that happen and maybe they get a run or 2 in, then all of a sudden everything feels insurmountable because the bats are quiet in one spot or another. Like I said, it's being out of sync. I think it kind of all starts at the top of this club. And like I said, Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, just overall, let's start to bring the body language, start to bring the vibes up a little bit more. You guys are the heart and soul, the brain and the heart, the whatever, the gut of this team. You guys gotta start acting like it. Like those 2 guys. And again, Gunnar, I don't want to get on too much, but Adley in particular, I think Adley's like my favorite Oriole right now if I had to pick one. And it's been a tough couple months here for the Adley Hive.
Yeah, he needs to get back to being himself through one mechanism or another. So again, hopefully that happens when they go home. Guys, we have a lot of YouTube on here. Would love to have you subscribe, like this video, share it with a friend, all that great stuff. The Orioles fall tonight after some late 9th inning heroics. I mean, they got to Chad Green, who has a 1.5 ERA and has been a absolutely nails closer. So fell just short, unfortunately couldn't get it done. But again, I did like to see the fight. We saw them fight back last night and put that dog water opener behind them a little bit.
That's the thing. And that's what's frustrating, but also can linger in the back of your mind as a sign of encouragement is that it's in there. Like these guys are talented enough. There's a reason Holliday goes
frustrated as we are, that they're just beside themselves right now.
There's a reason your catcher was a 1-1. There's a reason your shortstop, is considered one of the best in the sport, if not the best. There's a reason Jackson Holliday was a 1-1. There's a reason a lot of these guys are first round picks. There's a reason, Corbin Burns and Grayson Rodriguez are who they like. These guys have it within them to be playing better than this. They've just got to get on the same page. And you can, sort of whinge about Brandon Hyde, and I've certainly done it myself. You can whinge about the roster construction, but as the roster is currently constructed, they have the talent. If they were a little bit healthier, it would certainly be more encouraging, but they have the talent to compete with a lot of teams, and they're just not playing like it right now. And as frustrating as that is, it's at least within reason that they could get back there. So hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later.
Definitely Corbin Burns bobblehead night on the 16th. I will be in attendance, and sure would be a shame to have a bobblehead night for a guy you only keep for 1 year. Sure would be a shame, Uncle Rubes. Papa Rubes. I'm just going to
David Rubenstein also kind of giving him the old doff of the cap as he was walking off there a couple weeks ago. I've been saying this obviously, and it's no unique thought that like Uncle David's got to start getting in the mix here. I think I'd like to have him put his thumb on the scale in these negotiations with Uncle Scott Boras, whether the negotiations are even open or not right now.
Give him what he wants. Give him equity in the team. Give him 3%.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Having to be in bed with a nasty, low life, scum ridden motherfucker like that, as my guy Quentin Tarantino would say. I don't know about that because I'm no fan of Scott Boras, nor do I think I ever will be. But if that's what it takes to keep Corbin Burns around, and maybe we'll throw a little Gunnar Henderson in there too for the long term, I'd be all for it.
Love it. All right, I think that's the show. Let's get out of here. The Orioles will take on the Rays, and still tied with the Yankees atop the AL East. The Orioles ultimately are now 68-48, exactly 20 games over 500 somehow, some way. The Yankees 68-48 here. Yankees 7-3 in their last 10. Orioles 5-5 here as the O's travel to go take on the Rays.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is a show. Thank you, my friend, for hopping in with me. Thank you all for hanging with us here on YouTube. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you liked what you heard. Go ahead and leave a comment on the video for anyone watching on demand. You can interact with us on social media too, on Twitter or X at X52 Podcast. I am at Jake Louque. That's LOUQUE. Spenny is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4. You can also find Eric at EDITTI22. Brian at Barstool Banks, Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. You can also find us on Instagram at X52 Podcast. All that good stuff. Reach out, interact, get involved. Shout out to our guys, Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Black Eyed Susan Spices, Fed Thrill Sunglasses, all our great partners. Not the most fun series to recap, of course. Hopefully our fortunes and this team's fortunes will turn around. You know what? I got a good feeling. I got a good feeling that it will at some point soon. So in the meantime, you guys take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.